So my name is Armando Minjares, and I'm here with Horizontes Projects, director and curator. And today we are joined by Heidi Cruz, one of the artists who was featured through the project Horizontes. A quick note about Horizontes. Horizontes was a 2017 Night Cities Challenge winner, a project that aimed to connect two underrepresented neighborhoods in Wichita, Kansas, the predominantly Latino North Ends and the historically African-American Northeast neighborhoods. Heidi was one of several artists that was engaged with the project and created a mural located in North Market, right by the Nomar Theater, kind of catty corner from the Nomar Theater. And we were super excited that you're joining us today. Heidi, how you doing?
Good, and thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yes, this is awesome. So again, we just wanted to get into the brain of all the artists who participated in the project and learn more about who you are as an artist and a creative and some of the inspiration behind the mural. So let's just start, with what brought you to the project. How did you end up hearing about it and submitting a proposal for a mural?
Actually, when I first heard about it, I was at a puppet show, and one of the people that were helping with the project was like, the deadline is today. We would love to have you if you submit something. And then they told me about the project, and with it being a mural and me having mural experience, I was really drawn to it. Another thing that really drew me to the project was the location. Like, as you stated, it was predominantly Latino, and I wanted to use that as an opportunity as a Latina artist to contribute like my vision to it.
That's awesome, and we're so happy that we got your application. I know it came in like at the very
Yeah.
turn of the hour. It came in the very last minute. It was awesome, and I was so excited to see your name pop up. Part of in my intentionality behind the artists that were selected was to do a lot of outreach, direct outreach to artists. Bothering you all in your DMs, sliding into your DMs and telling you about what's happening. So we did a lot of that, and I'm glad that you were interested and decided to do it. Ultimately, we did have a small committee of community people that looked over the applications and decided which ones were gonna make it. So it was no brainer when we got your submission. So thank you. But tell us more about Heidi Cruz. Who's Heidi Cruz? Where do you come from? Where do you grow up? Who are you?
So I was originally born in Los Angeles, California, and I lived there throughout my childhood. And I kind of moved around, and we eventually moved to Wichita. And I've just been living in Wichita ever since. I went to school at WSU in the Fine Arts Department, and I graduated with a bachelor's in painting and studio arts. And I also have a culinary experience and also have a dance background. So when I created this mural, I kind of wanted to add those like dance elements that had inspired me. And when I did the mural, I wanted to do something that was empowering, and to me, the mural represented empowerment, and like I wanted something that would be beautiful to see and that the community would be able to enjoy. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
So the mural has a quote on it by Octavio Paz, a Mexican writer, and the quote into Spanish. What was the choice behind that quote and to just do it in Spanish specifically?
So I did it in Spanish specifically because I wanted to, so when I was researching, I wanted to find a Mexican author and include that in the mural, because I thought that was important, just to like represent the neighborhood that it's at. And it was also really the poem itself was, it was just very powerful. And So in Spanish, it says, La libertad no necesita alas, lo que necesita es echar raíces, which means liberty does not need wings. What it needs is to take root. And I thought that was just so beautiful. And especially to see in a neighborhood and community, it just like spoke about community to me and about empowerment and about the power of like working together.
Yeah, that's great. I love that quote. I love that image of roots or finding of being rooted to place,
yes.
right? That neighborhood specifically, I mean, it has a long history specifically with Mexican American migrant workers, right? They came here 100 years ago, over 100 years ago, to build the train tracks that are now there, right? The sort of iconic piece of the North End is if you're driving down 21st, you're probably going to get stopped by that train at some point. And that is such a big, important part of the history of the neighborhood. And so I always, when I think about roots and being rooted, I think about that. But also a lot of, there's new immigrants too, right? Like there's Mexican American, Central American people, and even Southeast Asian immigrants that have been living in the neighborhood too. And some that are more recent that have gotten there in the last few years, the last decade or two. So even within that, it's a pretty diverse neighborhood. It's seen as sort of this monolithic Mexican American, but even within that community, there's a lot of diversity within it. And just being an immigrant myself, I always think about rootedness and finding home and where do you make home. So I was really drawn to that that quote. Yeah, for sure. Now that the image of and I'm gonna do a screen share here. There's also a pretty iconic image of I believe it's to me what it reminds me of is like a Mexican woman from the Mexican Revolution. Is that where that source comes from?
Yes, that is exactly where it comes from. You got it.
Awesome. So why that choice for that specific era and that image and that time?
I just thought it really it collaborated really well with the poem. Like it just really well together. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's great. yeah. It's like I said, I love that that it has, again, it speaks to a very specific part of history for a lot of the people that live in the neighborhood. And that's something that I appreciate about this mural too. It's that it's connected in more than one way. One of the things that we wanted to address head on with this project is the potential for investments and redevelopments in the neighborhood. But as we did that, I also wanted to make sure that we were really honest about what we've seen all over the place. I mean, like I say, you grew up in LA, and there are huge problems with displacement through gentrification that is happening in a lot of those Mexican American communities there in Los Angeles. And it's not unique to LA. We've seen it all over the country with just kind of neighborhoods that have been in the inner cities, often populated by low income people, often people of color, Black and brown communities. And then there's all this investment happening, property being bought up, apartments being opened up, restaurants opening up. And suddenly the people that have been there for generations can no longer afford to live there. So that's something that I personally wanted to address and to make sure that we were not in this curating process, that we weren't just creating art for art's sake, which I'm an artist and that's fine. I love making art just to make it. I think that's also important for us artists. But this art is not existing in a gallery or in a vacuum, like it's inside a community, right? In a way, we're like bringing
it's accessible. It's accessible to the everyday person.
Exactly, right? I mean, it's something that there's many different pieces in your mural that I believe it makes it accessible to the people there's some people that have read Octavio Paz. I mean, he is such a, fixture, right, in Latin American literature. This image of the mujer revolucionaria, right, this revolutionary woman from Mexico, and then the carnation flower too. I think that's also such an iconic.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, do you have a special love for carnations?
So for me, when I think about carnations, I think about Mexico, and yeah, and I've always liked to incorporate like botanical elements with my artwork, and yeah, I'm just like pretty specific as like what flowers I use for each project.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So tell us more about your work. So this is the mural that the people know about you in the North End, but what are the things that interest you as you create art, whether it is in the kitchen or in a canvas?
So for me, I mainly focus on like figurative work. So definitely focus on the female body and floral elements. And most of the time I like to incorporate like macabre elements and just like creating beauty out of things that normally wouldn't be seen as beautiful. Just like finding the beauty in everything. So that's kind of what my work revolves around. And also you can see that in my food as well. It's all just very vibrant and bright. But there's intention in every single little piece.
Yeah, I love the spooky elements of all of your baking. Can you tell us more about that? What about that draws you into like you said, the macabre? What about that brings you in?
To me, I just find it absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And fascinating.
I feel like there's a lot of taboos that we hold, especially in our culture, right? When it comes to when we talk about death, when we talk about decay, when we talk about the obscure. And I just see that it's so much a part of the work that you do. Yes,
the beauty and the damaged.
Wow, yeah. The beauty and the damaged.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an opportunity to look at a different side of who we are as people. As artists, I feel like there's always an expectation for us, or not always, but often an expectation to, I don't know, like do beautiful things, or like what it's considered, I guess, beautiful, right? By most people. But looking in the dark side, there's so much beauty there as well.
And then you'd be surprised as like to how many people can actually like relate. And when like you touch on taboo topics like death, or even just like nudity,
right?
More often than not, like it can be appreciated.
Right. I mean, it's amazing how the human body is seen as something that they shouldn't be looked at, right? I mean, it's literally, we all have this body, right? We have our bodies and we see it all the time, and yet we can be so like prude about seeing how beautiful a body can be and is, right? And all of its rolls and lumps and things.
All that.
Yeah, I can. Every time I have a bruise and for any reason on me, I feel like I spend so much time looking at it and seeing it transform.
Yeah, me too.
Right, like there's the yellows that come out.
Like mesmerized by all the colors.
Yeah, it's so amazing. Yeah. So going back to the mural when you were painting, how was it for you out there? Let's go back to like the days that you were out there in the heat with your hat painting. What was that like? What were some memories that you have from being out there?
So my favorite part of the whole experience was that we were all out there at the same time. And I really loved that because it just like created a sense of like community, and we were all just like motivating each other, and it was just like so positive. And yeah, just like it almost like made you want to work harder. But yeah, like I got to meet like so many new artists that I had never like even heard about, and like we're still friends to this day because of it.
That's awesome. I mean, there's even been some collaborations that happened since,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, like with like when Brady asked me to model for him, and yeah.
Yeah, so now your face is on this side of the No More Theater, and
Yeah,
so many people see it all the time.
yeah.
With that mural, I mean, that was a mural. It used to be a horse with some beautiful roses on it,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, it was vandalized just by some. It was kind of tagged all over, and it was too much damage to really fix it. So Brady decided to just repaint it, just paint over it, and painted a whole new mural. And the new one has your
Mhm.
face on it. What's that
Yeah,
like to see your face on a mural?
it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty amazing. It kind of takes your breath away. You're just like, that's me.
Do people recognize you sometimes?
So the funny thing is that the mural kind of looks like a blend of me and my twin sister. So everyone always thinks it's her.
Oh, that's
And
funny. Yeah.
yeah, and that was unintentional.
Yes. Yes, I know. Helen, which is the twin sister. Yes. That's awesome. That's hilarious. I mean, it's like, who is it? It's a Heidi, it's a Helen. We don't know.
Yeah, it's both of us.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Um, so when we what do you want people to take away from your mural when they take a look at it, when they drive by it, when they walk by it? What do you hope people are taking from it?
Also they can just pause for a moment to just take the time to read it. And if they don't know Spanish, maybe take that opportunity to look it up and then maybe find out a little bit about the author, and like what the quote means. And but even like there has been some people that have like looked at the translation later, and then they still got that same feeling just from the imagery that I painted.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Did anyone ever like question why you were doing it in Spanish, or like why should you should make it in English? Did that happen at all?
no, if anything, like I had people from the community. I had this one gentleman walk up to me and he thanked me. He was like, "Thank you for doing this," and that was just like that meant the world to me because like obviously he related to it, and um, it meant something to him too.
That's amazing. I love those moments
Yeah,
when someone in the community or a stranger connects to the work that
yeah.
we do. Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's amazing. Um, so what are some of the lessons, if any, maybe that you've learned since the project? Were there any opportunities that came from that experience, or not that there's been, at least a couple of years since we did it? Are there any reflections that you have from the project itself?
I was just really grateful to be a part of it. I haven't really done anything like that since then. But I would like to do something like that again, for sure. Um, I don't know. Sorry, I'm like drawing a blank.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. Um, okay, so I want to hear more. I want to hear more about the work that you do baking and in the kitchen. You have a new business that you launched.
Yes,
Uh,
I have a new business called the Black Fig Bakery, and I specialize in made from scratch desserts, and they're small batch, and I really focus on flavor. And I would say about 90% of my items are vegan, and about 20% are gluten sensitive. So um, it gives me an opportunity to make things for people that normally wouldn't be able to have a lot of pastries around town. And also just
yeah,
like people don't like, if somebody that like that is not vegan eats it, like I like to make my things taste not vegan. So it's always a surprise when people find out
that it's vegan.
yeah, that it's vegan. But yeah, like my work is just like really colorful. I like to experiment a lot. It's like with flavor profiles. And I just like with my artwork too, like I do a lot of research, like an endless amount of research.
Yeah,
Until I
why is that important to do research?
To me, research plays a really big role on like how I do my work. I've never been one of those artists that can just like come up with something just like out of the blue. I'll
Yeah.
just like see things here and there and just like make my own version of it. So that's how I get my inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's maybe another misconception. I don't know um that we can just kind of conjure art out of nothingness.
Yes.
Do you hear that a lot? Do you see that a lot?
Yes, and also like with my baking too. Like people are just like, "Hey, would you like? I mean, I need an order tomorrow," and I'm just like, "No, that takes time. I need to plan it. I need to research. I want to make sure it's like as close to perfect as possible." I'm not
Right.
a magician.
Yeah. So there's obviously a creative process too in an artistry, right?
Yeah,
To baking and the way that you do it.
there is. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because like I like to create balance within like the flavors and the textures and the composition, just like art.
Yeah, right. I think those are great. If there's any students watching, you said a lot of things there: balance, composition, form.
Yeah.
Look this up. Yes. Um, there's something that I've seen in your art, and maybe it's just something that you like, but I see red and like red tones show up a lot in your artwork.
Yes, that's one of my favorite colors.
Yes.
So reds and red and whites. I really love that color combination because it reminds me of like blood on snow. And that to me is just like, oh, such beautiful.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is Halloween time when we're recording this,
Yeah.
so it's
But for me,
appropriate.
like Halloween is every day. It's a lifestyle.
That's right. That's right. And that's something, again, I mean, I follow your page, and that's it's something that I love to see in your desserts. All year round, there's this, they're really whimsical, right? And your work in general, that is really whimsical. You have these watercolors that you do that that they're just beautiful. Like you have the human body that is painted. It almost often looks like it's like bruised skin or
Yes.
maybe decayed.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
that the decay and the bruising definitely influences my work. And actually have one that I'm working on right now,
right there.
right there.
Yes, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, do you ever work with live models or people that you know for your paintings?
Yes. Well, back when I was at WSU, I had, access to live models, and that's when I feel like my work was like the most I guess more photorealistic.
Yeah,
Like I was able to get like the proportions really well. I'm definitely the kind of person that like I learned by looking at things. So to have live models was like a game changer for me. That's how I learned how to draw the human figure, was through life drawing. And I also, when I did my first few bodies of work, I had fellow classmates that would model for me, and that helped me tremendously.
yeah. Is there as you were learning how to draw the body, is there a specific part that was particularly more challenging to kind of get right?
Yes, the face.
The face.
Yes. I can knock out a body like a torso, legs, but the face, that's the part that I would always wait last minute to draw. It's like it's such like I struggled with it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean it's like like you said, like it's with the picture of you. Maybe it looks like Helen, maybe it's Heidi. There's always a little bit of fear that maybe it's gonna look like somebody else.
Yeah.
Something that I learned that my high school teacher told me is that as we were learning how to paint the human body, and she said, anytime you're gonna paint somebody for the next, like few
Mhm.
years of drawing, just like everyone's gonna look like you. It's just like everyone that you paint or draw is gonna have a resemblance to you. And I was like,
Yeah.
why? Why is that? She's like, because you know your face really well. You see it every day, in
Uh-huh.
a mirror. She's like, so your brain just like defaults to doing that. And that was so interesting. And then I could unsee it. Every
It
drawing I
is
had
really
was just
interesting.
like
I've never thought of it like that before.
I feel like I just had all these drawings of me with like different kinds of hair, different
Um,
wigs.
one thing one of the instructors at WSU told me that kind of like always resonated with me. We were in a life drawing class, and she had mentioned that once you tackle hands, then that's when like you're like a great figure painter. And then she said, don't be afraid of it. So then I had always made it my mission to just like study hands and draw hands, and that made me a better artist.
It's true though. There's so many bones in our hands, so many articulations, which I think is what makes it particularly challenging, right? Like
Mhm.
all fingers move in so many different directions
Yeah.
that it's such a like, yeah, to make them look right. It's hard.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. Great. Well, Haiti, so you get the painting behind you. What are other projects that you're working on right now that you're excited about?
I would like to work towards doing a solo show because I haven't done one in a pretty long time. So once I get this painting done, I would like to do a cohesive body of work, and then just focus on my business, but also like making sure I make time for my art as well.
Yeah, for sure. So you've been in Wichita for a minute now, and you have been involved in a lot of things, the performance and doing art and public art and then doing your baking. What's it been like for you to be a creative in Wichita? Can we talk more about that? Like, what's it been like for you?
To me, I that's one of the reasons why I love Wichita, is because of like the sense of community and just like all the artists that are here. And I feel like it's almost like different than in bigger cities, because the people here, like, they work really, really hard. And because, sometimes there's nothing else to do. So, you put all your time in your art. And, there's just like an opportunity to like make friends with musicians and pastry chefs, like even within like the food community. Like, I know a lot of people through there that also go to shows and go to galleries, and it's just all connected. And I love that. And it's just been amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's been a lot of collaborations that I've seen, like you said, cross-disciplinary with
Yeah.
chefs doing dinners, and they have local musicians playing, and they have artists, help them with graphics, and
Mhm.
that's been, yeah, something that it's really important. I think that we think about, like you said, the largest cities, and we see what's happening there. But it's a hustle to be in a larger city and to
Oh
be an
yeah,
artist, like a working artist, is hard.
it is so hard. Yeah.
So I feel like being here, even though this is a mid-sized city, I feel like there's so much more space, like
Mhm.
physically and figuratively, to be creative and to make work with other people.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's great that you do other collaborations that you have done in the past that like have really made you really excited and happy.
Yes. So there was a show that I collaborated with where we had burlesque dancers, we had art, we had musicians, and that was like one of the coolest events that I have ever been to. And it was like a full house. You couldn't even move. And it was
That's
just like cool to
amazing.
see that in our city.
Yeah, do you remember where that was?
I'm blanking out. Um I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah, and that's fine. But that's something that I always when I see kind of young artists or emerging artists or even like budding artists in high school or even middle school, I always tell them, if you have an idea, go after it. Like, don't wait for somebody. Don't wait
Yeah.
for the quote unquote right moment to do it. Like,
Mhm.
you just kind of have to go for it and
Exactly.
seize that moment.
And even with this, like the Horizontes project, I had heard about it, but I thought, maybe I'm too busy, I don't have enough time, or maybe I'm not good enough to, get an entry. And then I just did it anyways, and you'll never know unless you try. And I learned that with this project.
That's awesome. Yep.
Mhm.
The worst thing that happen is that they say no, and you just do
Mhm.
it again.
Yeah, definitely.
That's amazing. Uh, well, Haiti, are there any other like thoughts or reflections that you have on the project or on Horizontes? Anything that you're like,
I think the only like commentary would be like if somebody were to do something like this again, um, making sure that there's probably like restrooms available for the artists. I know that was one of the things that we struggled with the most, which is yeah.
I know that's such a challenge. It's so just like kind of give context to that, right? We were painting on uh North Market and 21st, and it's full of retail spaces, but so many of them are unoccupied. And
Yeah.
and so it makes it a challenge to be able, to find services and to go get
Yeah.
water or to like run to the restroom real fast. But it is our hope that with this art and the vibrancy that came from the murals, that we
Uh-huh.
are able to kind of give people an opportunity to imagine what it can be again, right? To reimagine the North End and to invest again. There's already things happening, right? The No More Theater has been purchased by a local philanthropist, and it was donated to Empower Evergreen, and there are plans to renovate it. And there's some buildings that have been already renovated into retail spaces owned by local residents. So I'm really excited to see people from the neighborhood buying that property and developing it for their own people. There's always the fear that some outside developers gonna come in and buy a bunch of property, but it's exciting to see that the local residents are the ones leading that development.
That's great.
And now all of your artwork, all the murals get to be a part of this kind of resurgence of the North End, and
Right.
that's super exciting. Okay. Well, Heidi, this has been fun talking to you and kind of getting a little bit into your brain and the brain of the artist. Again, we're so excited that you were able to participate and excited to have you here. Are there any social media where do you want people to find you or follow you that you want to share?
I have an art page on Facebook, and it's called Heidi Cruz Art.
Yep, great. Well,
Yeah.
anyone interested in finding your work, they can follow you there.
Yeah.
Again, we thank you for your time, and I'm excited to continue to see your business grow and see more spooky pastries and eventually have some.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have
Awesome. Thank you, Heidi.
a great one.
All right. Thanks everyone for
Thanks
watching.
everyone for the opportunity.
Of course. Remember, you can visit us at horizontes-project.com. You can also find us on social medias, all the platforms at Horizontes Project. And make sure that you click on the next video and look at all the other artists that we have interviewed. Again, see you later.
See ya.
Thank you.